it's the work that you and I have been doing for a really long time, is like recognizing past traumas, past experiences, past blocks, triggers that activate our nervous systems, all of these things to me that we've had different words for over the course of our relationship. Now I just see it as fear. So if fear comes up in my body, and I just hold on to that space and sit with it until it turns into love. And as soon as that happens, that fear disappears and I'm back into love again.
We'll make it out and fall in love tonight.
We're trying up something new here on the podcast where we have...
I was not ready.
Oh, you're not ready?
My head was in my hands.
Your head was in your hands? Is that a song?
I had one hand in my pocket.
What was your other hand doing?
The other one was given.
A high five? Baby, you got to get your mic up.
You weren't high-fiving me. You were leaving me hanging with one
that
hand in
was
my
in
pocket.
my pocket.
All right. Yeah, we're trying things different.
Yeah,
What are
we're
we doing?
switching things up on the podcast, and not switching things up. It's just
I
the
don't know if I
set.
like
It's
the
the
angle.
design, right? And it's truthfully because we have this set up for when we do interviews with other people, and we dig it so much. So we're trying it to see when it's just the two of us, because it's really cozy and comfy.
I like it.
It's kind of
I
hard
like
though,
it.
because like trying to angle
I
and
know.
talk
Hold on.
to
Let
each
me
other.
let me adjust.
And get all repositioned
Let me adjust.
here.
Where do I want this pillow?
I don't know.
If I get too comfy, then I get tired. So
Just giving everybody a crotch
right.
shot.
That's why I'm careful with the pillow.
You got to get your mic up.
I'm getting it here. I had to adjust my
Come on,
pillow.
podcaster.
I had to adjust my podcasting pillow.
So we were just
So
on...
I wasn't giving crotch shots. It's my crotch block.
We were just on Tony
$9.99.
Overbay's podcast,
Yes.
virtual. It's not the virtual therapist; it's a virtual couch,
Virtual. I always said the virtual coach.
right? He's a therapist though, so
I
let's
know,
see.
that's-
It's the virtual couch. We just got done doing his podcast. It'll be out. We're not sure when, but we'll be sure and share it with you
Sorry
guys.
for getting that wrong.
I had a question for you.
What is your question while I bring my tea over very carefully?
We've done a handful of, obviously we've done way more than a handful of podcasts over the course of our life and
Yes.
our relationship together. But
We've done a few.
lately we've been going on a lot of other podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you like more? Or not necessarily which do you like more, but what do you enjoy about being a guest on other podcasts versus this show when we're doing the whole rigmarole of talking back and forth thing?
I like to see other people's style of interview. I like to see how other people bring the conversation and what they want to see from it. Because when we're doing it, we have our style that we go through and we get to learn about other people so much, which is great. But it's really neat to be in other people's space and get their style and their feel. It's like you're going over to their house for, I don't know, like a dinner party or something.
Right,
You're
a
going
nice
over
little
to their
hangout.
house and you're just hanging out over there with them. And it's like you get a little invitation into their world for a minute. And that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It is cool.
I like that.
Having a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go on more podcasts. So I want to go on more podcasts. Do you want to go on more podcasts,
I
babe?
I don't know. You say that. I think I do. I still am a little nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yes, I do. I do.
You
I don't
heard
like
it here
being put
first.
on the spot, man. You just put me where you're like, never mind. Do you?
Well, it's that thing I got to learn not to speak for you, right?
But after you speak for me and then you take it back, it's weird. Just stop speaking for me altogether.
Well, I'm trying to catch
Right
that.
now, fix it.
I'm trying to
No,
catch that. That's the whole
100%.
thing of
Have me on your podcast. I'll tell you how to fix it right now.
So today's guest on
Right?
the Steph and Craig show is Stephanie.
It's her crazy ego. It's her madman. What?
Mad woman.
Mad woman. What were you giving me the eyebrows for?
If you had to create a character to embody your crazy ego shadow woman, what would that be?
If I had to create a character?
Yeah, pick a.
What do you mean if I had to create a character?
No, but from a
you
movie.
meet her on the regular.
I know I'm familiar with her.
You know her. She knows you. She
But
knows
if you
when you
had to-
sleep.
She watches you while you're sleeping. If you
From
had
a
to,
movie?
yeah, the personification in a movie, who would it be?
Who would I want to be? Let's see.
I'm trying to think of
I'm trying to think
my
of-
version of what that would look like from a masculine perspective.
Wait, I don't think I understand the question completely.
Well, as you were just saying something, what came to my mind was Mad Max,
Okay.
the
I was
Fury Road with
You think
Charlize.
that's who it would be? Do you know what's so funny? I wasn't sure I was getting the question right because I was thinking Atomic Blonde. Only I'm not blonde, I'm brunette. But I was like, because she's a
She's a But she's
and I
not
was like, that's how I'd want to be like.
right. Both Charlize Theron.
Apparently, I just want to be like, I want to be tough like Charlize.
She's tough.
She's tough. Well, she plays a tough actress. She could probably kick like that.
She's probably
tough. She's
pretty
probably tough. Yeah.
Let's bring her on the podcast and find out. Yeah. Out of all the celebrities in the world, who would be your top? Have we done this? I think we've probably done this before.
No, I think we talked about doing it, but I don't think we did.
I don't know if this setup's going to work.
Are you going to be okay?
I don't know. I feel like I'm...
Your leg is in my shot.
That's okay.
And you're... Whoa!
Just saw that on camera.
Oh,
it's like Burt Reynolds.
Oh
from
no!
The 70s.
You need a
cock block
what is
pillow.
it? A
crotch shot pillow.
No, yeah, you need I can't talk now. Jesus.
I'm gonna get the other pillow.
What's the word? It's not a chastity. It's what's the word when you're trying to be? I don't know. You're trying to show it's like a modesty. You need a modesty pillow.
Yes, I do. That was not modest.
That was, it was just the angles of the camera. It was so freaking funny. If you're listening and not watching, you just missed the best accidental
Go subscribe
shot.
To us on YouTube.
Luckily, there was no wardrobe failure. But it was
luckily, I didn't have shorts on.
It was the best accidental shot that caught us both off guard.
I was like, yeah, that's not good. That's not good TV right there.
I mean, it's not that it was bad. It's just that, like, that's not what you want. Like, I definitely don't want that advertisement going out.
I'm moving fast.
You are moving fast. Okay, first three. You first, since you're moving fast.
But I can't think of because the question was like,
I don't remember your question. That's
like
why I wanted you to go first. My ego?
Like you're not just like not your shadow side, but like the side of you that would come out and want to just kind of like burn everything to the ground.
I cannot Firestarter. We know she was a kid. I need more time for this question.
Drew Barrymore?
Yeah, no. I need more time for this question.
Have you seen any of Drew Barrymore's clips from her show?
I've seen lots.
Social.
I've seen lots.
Do you watch a lot of her stuff?
I've seen a lot of her stuff.
I love there was one
I don't watch the talk show, so even though I love Drew,
does anybody watch the talk show?
They do, because Kelly
I don't
Clarkson,
watch any of those.
If I was
I just
to
watch their clips.
A talk show, if I was to be like, okay, this is the talk show that I'm going to watch, it would be Kelly Clarkson, because I love you, Kelly.
Should we bring Kelly on the podcast?
We should bring Kelly on the podcast. Kelly, come be on the podcast.
Right. This is the year I think when we start.
And I'll just sit there and look at you and be like, I love you.
Like
it'll be
we get to
weird. I'll make
interview
it
all
weird.
the people that we want to interview.
Okay, so back to your question. You were asking a question.
I know.
Ego,
I can't.
Are you trying to get away from it?
Well, I asked it before I really thought about it, just simply because it was like Fury Road popped into my head, and I was
Furiosa.
like, yeah. But she's also not a bad character in that show, right? She's
she's not a bad character at
So
all.
this is like the ego side.
She's the good person.
She is the good. She's the she's the heroine in that show. But
okay.
Go ahead.
Who else?
But no, like because like the part that would burn everything down, not out of
Daenerys.
Like saving, but out of like, your ego.
My ego?
Thing. Yeah.
What character would it be if my ego came out to play in Hollywood? Let's see.
Daenerys kind of got a little drunk on her dragon power.
Yeah, but then Jon Snow was like, oh, you made a mistake. Now I have to kill you. Like, come on. Come on, Jon Snow. Come on. The one time she loses her shit, you take her life. Pretty sure you've lost your shit. Jon Snow. Okay, Daenerys. I got a bone to pick with you, Jon Snow.
Okay. I can't think of one. It's a terrible question. Yeah. I can't think of one. But
there's a silly one. And it's like, you never watched any of the Killing Eves, did you?
No, I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
Oh my gosh, I can only think of her name from Grey's Anatomy. It's Christina. She's Christina Yang on Grey's Anatomy. And I can't think of her actual name. And I feel terrible. It's because she's always Christina to me.
Michelle Yeoh?
I don't know.
Maybe.
She's Christina. She's always going to be Christina. It's like Meredith is always Meredith. So
and then an old snaggletooth. Old what's her name?
What?
The other gal from Grey's Anatomy that I'm a big fan of.
Do you call her? You cannot call her Snaggletooth. That is mean.
That is mean. You're right.
Jesus.
Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
That was an inside joke for us.
Okay.
So if I'm referring, like,
Well, look, I didn't say her name.
Katherine
so then
Heigl does not have a snaggletooth.
You said her name.
I don't think she's going to get all but hurt. And if she does, I feel really bad about that. I genuinely do, actually.
Well, I got your back, Izzy.
Was that her character's name on the show?
I loved Grace.
Isn't it still on?
I haven't watched it because
It's like a soap opera that's been on for 17 years.
Maybe that's
Characters die, come back, all of that.
I remember you used to really make me mad when you called it a soap opera. I'm like, it's not a soap opera. And then I was like, oh, 100% shit, it totally is. It's my soaps. It's my shows.
Because didn't Katherine Heigl die and then come back or something?
No.
Somebody fell down an elevator shaft and then they came back?
Don't act like you know Grey's Anatomy. You just sip it over there, mister. Quit trying to make fun of my shows, which is why I don't watch shows when you're around anymore, because you make fun of them.
That's right. We talked about that, didn't we? I'm serious. That was a shitty thing that I did.
The point that I was trying to answer for your question was there was a character on Killing Eve that played opposite Christina Yang from Grey's Anatomy. And I think they called her Villainessa. And she was kind of like this crazy, not crazy, but she just like she's just spunky. She was a killer that they were after, but she was a hitman for other things. I don't know what she was. She was a hitman, a hit woman. She was a hit woman, and I liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is this going to work with us sitting sideways? I feel like we're probably going to have to angle a little bit.
I'm kind of liking it,
but
this conversation, how we started, is weird. I feel like the first beginning of this podcast just crashed and burned. I feel like it like cocktailed at the beginning. You know, it was like the first time it just crashed and burned. Second time crashed. That's a line from Cocktails with Tom Cruise.
Okay.
And Elizabeth Shue.
Look at you.
Right?
Look at the big brain on Brad. That's a line too from a movie.
Oh, what movie?
I can't think of it.
Yeah?
But I know that that's a line from a movie. So I wasn't, oh my God. Yeah, this is just ran off into the ditch of me putting my foot in my mouth.
Off into the ditch.
Left and right, huh?
Yeah.
Should we just start over?
I think we should start over.
Why do you keep looking at the
Because
cameras?
the switching is weird and your leg's in my space. Do
you want me to get rid of it? Is that better?
No. The camera, I can't tell where it's at. Yeah, I don't know. I think we might want to do over.
We're not doing anything over.
Oh, let's do a do-over.
There's no do-overs.
Do-over.
Just keep rolling.
No.
Just keep it rolling.
The show must go on. Okay, well, for the record, Steph said that this episode we needed to, at the whatever mark, this mark,
right
camera
there.
cut. We should have started. We should have started over.
How would you like to start the podcast off?
I don't know, because it would have been a conversation that we would have had.
We're having it
at the beginning.
now?
We're having it now.
Let's go.
Oh, I've got a great question. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay, so if you could cast your ego into what movie character?
Look at the big brain on Brad over there.
I'm so funny. I'm enjoying my tea.
That was a good callback, babe.
Thank you. Thank you. I worked really hard on that. I've been scripting I would have those witty callbacks.
I was listening to Tig Notaro today on a couple of different podcasts because she was on Smartless. Mm-hmm. Actually, the trajectory for me this morning was I was listening to Glennon, and it was a replay of when Tig was on with her partner, Stephanie, and it's a great episode, but I had already listened to it.
Okay.
But then I was like, oh, I got to listen to some Tig. And so then she was on Smartless. Do you know which one that one is?
Yes, with not Bradley Cooper, with the dude from Ozarks,
yeah.
Jason Bateman
and Will
Sean
Arnett
Hayes
and Sean Hayes.
Yes.
And I just freaking love her. Like she's so freaking funny. She's just one of my favorite comedians.
Who's your favorite comedian?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a quote unquote like favorite comedian.
Can you give a top 3 then?
Well, let's see here. Tig is definitely up there, like in the top 5. I just absolutely love her.
Yeah.
I love Fortune. Fortune's doing great stuff right now. I love she hosts the late night show. What's her name?
Oh, Taylor Tomlin?
Yes. She's so freaking clever. Mm-hmm. I think I like female comedians more than I like male comedians. Yeah. It seems like the style of male comedy that's out there right now, I'm not really a fan of.
I know a male comedian that you really like.
Who?
Nate Bargatze.
I do like Nate. He's pretty Nate. Great. He's pretty clever.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because he's quote unquote like a clean comic, right? And I think it's so hilarious that they have to I don't think I don't feel like that probably is a huge thing that follows him around anymore, or was ever a thing that like followed him around. But that was like, I mean, that's a thing, right? That's he's got clean comedy or something like that. And
today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Woolly. We absolutely love Woolly, and they're a longtime sponsor of this podcast. We're currently 100% decked out in all Woolly right now, and truthfully, it's how we walk around most days.
Woolly is made from 100% merino wool, which is known for its natural softness, which it is so soft, and that's really important. As while we're being healthier, I don't want it to feel scratchy or itchy. They're easy to care for, machine washable, because out of all the places that I'm spending my time, I don't want it to be spent on laundry.
Woolly has a wide variety of men and women's clothing, everything from socks, underwear, tops, bottoms, pants, leggings. What else, babe?
Did you say underwear and nice hoodies?
Another thing that I really love about Woolly is if it gets wet, you actually stay dry. All their clothes are sustainable and eco-friendly.
And because they're 100% merino wool, they're natural moisture wicking, which means they're not sticking to you and feeling gross.
Listeners of the podcast get an exclusive discount of 15% off of everything at Woolly. Head to the link in our description.
And be sure to enter the code Steph and Craig at checkout to get that 15% off.
So go get yourself some socks. Go get yourself some underwear. Again, that code is Steph and Craig. Save 15%.
like, that's not why I like him. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like, oh, I only listen to clean comics. I obviously don't. And that's not something that I concern myself with.
Not only do you obviously not, you also take our children to comedy shows that you're like,
right.
whoa.
But
No.
he's just clever as fuck.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
I really like him.
Yeah.
I'm a big Nate fan.
Yeah.
He's
I like
hilarious.
him. I mean, Chappelle. I like Chappelle, but Chappelle to me feels like more like he doesn't necessarily feel like a comic, even though obviously he is, but he feels like somebody.
It's like a good person that we want to listen to talk. No?
It's like he's
I like
this,
him a lot.
But he's like this iconic, like in the scope of comedy as a whole, like on the big, I think comedy has this role that it plays in culture and in society, and comics talk about this, and like it's the role that the jester used to play in the court, right? It's way back in the day when you would have like the king and queen sitting on it. You're not in the comedy meetings?
I'm not in the comedy meeting. They don't
host
allow me at
week?
the comedy club.
I get to sit in the back
or the improv club, whatever it is.
I get to take notes. I'm the what are they? I'm the note taker.
You're the cool guy.
I'm the secretary of the comedian club. No, but the jester back in the day was the only person that was like allowed to call out the king, and kind of keep checks and balances in place in regards to things. And by doing it through humor, it was a way to kind of keep balance in society. And so comics tend to fill that role in our culture today in some regards. And I can see that, like I can see how they kind of push the boundaries and all those kind of different areas and things like that. But I also think that, it's kind of the thing where it's a sliding scale. There's a spectrum to it. And not all of them are like necessarily at that end of the spectrum where they're doing, the Lord's work by being stand-ups, keeping the homeostasis of the culture. Some of them are just shitty people that do stand-up.
Okay.
You're like, where are we? What are we talking about?
Where are we? I'm like,
what is going on this podcast?
Tig, Nate, Taylor, Fortune are your top 4.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if they're my top 4. I'm not trying to quantify any of it.
Well, while you're over there dilly-dallying, I'll just let the world know who's waiting to know my favorite comedian.
Let's hear it.
I have my top 2. One does stand-up, one does movies. My top stand-up is Fortune. I love her. I really like Nate
Fortune
too.
Feimster.
I try to just say her first name because I always mess up her last name.
That's why I said her last name.
I know. You were like pointing it out.
It's in my back pocket. It's only because I've heard it so many times.
Right? I love her.
She's on Handsome. That's the Tig and her, and then May. I can't remember May's last name.
I don't know that one. But I really like everything that she does, it's hilarious. I just love her.
She's very funny.
And Melissa McCarthy is my favorite movie comedian. I love her so much. I will if she's on a podcast I want to listen, if she's on a movie, I want to watch it. If she's on
Yes.
TV, I want to watch it. It's like, that's all you have to tell me. Is Melissa McCarthy in it? Then yes, I
Then
want to
you're
watch
down.
it. Yes, I want to listen. That's it. I love her.
I don't know
love
if it's
her
from an
so
old
much.
SNL sketch. I don't know how old it is, or if it's a new, because she's hosted so many different times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that recent one that I sent you, where she's playing like the Karen on the outside of the car window,
Jesus. Yes.
it is unbelievable how freaking funny that woman is. And the two actors in the car are
Yeah.
like doing everything that they can. She breaks everybody.
She's the best.
Yeah.
She's the best.
She's so freaking good.
She's the best. Can you
She
imagine?
like licks the window.
He puts her boob on it. She's just like,
So freaking
she's
good.
the best. She's
She is the
like the best.
best.
I feel like she's, yeah,
We love her and her
love
husband.
her. Yes.
What's
so
her husband's
much.
name?
Oh, I just forgot it. It is, I'm looking at Falcone, Ben Falcone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's also great.
God's Favorite Idiot
Is
the one
a
on
great
Netflix,
show
right?
on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're so fun.
Yes.
That would be like a super big power couple that we would love to have on the
Oh my
podcast.
gosh. Oh my gosh. I would love that. I would love that. And it would be, my challenge would be, are you going to fix my hair?
Yeah, you just had a little thing
My
up there.
challenge would be to not sit here and be like, I love you. I love you. I don't know what else to say other than I love you
You'd be
the
all
whole
right.
time.
You could
Do you
do
think?
it. Heck yeah.
I don't know. We just moved the chairs and suddenly I'm like, I don't remember how to
I
podcast.
know, right? You're
I
like,
don't
we got to
remember
start
what
over.
to do. I
gotta
tried
start
to
all of
start
this
over and you
over.
went up like, oh, here we go. I feel like everything is different. And so I don't know what I'm, this is like
truthfully-
episode one, basically.
Truthfully,
It's episode
everything
one.
is different.
Yeah, it really is.
2025 has been a incredibly life-changing year.
Do you remember our first 2025 episode when we were like, this is so wonderful. Everything's great. We're so happy. Do you remember how full of positivity we were?
Sorry, are we not still full of positivity? Like what? Are you
Somebody
talking
ate
about?
a pizza by herself in a parking lot, working on her positivity. I'm trying.
I feel
trying.
like everything's still going
Yeah.
great.
Okay. That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. I mean, no.
I've been wanting to
good.
talk about the telepathy tapes
Okay.
in depth.
Are we
on
gonna do that
the
right now?
podcast. I mean, unless you got something else that's jumping out at the, busting out of the seams to try to be on the show.
No. If you've been here, if you hung on the song, folks, get ready because this is where it's gonna get
What are we,
good.
5 minutes into the episode?
We're like 28 minutes in.
28 minutes?
Just kidding. We're not. Don't timestamp that. We're really not.
Yeah, the telepathy tapes.
Okay, here we go. The telepathy tapes.
It's a podcast that's available everywhere that you listen
Mm-hmm.
to podcasts. And we have been recommending it to everybody, both on social as well as in person.
in personal life. Yeah.
It's one of
Even
those
people
things.
we don't talk to. I sent it out to somebody that was like I'm so far as like I've opened up conversation just to send it to people that aren't even in our space anymore.
I do it on like when I'm out and about in
sorry.
public.
Do you? Do you
Like
talk
when
to
I'm
people
at the
in
gas
public?
station checking out. And
Tell me, paint that scene for me, please.
So you know our
So you
favorite gas
pull up.
station, we go to Weigel's, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell the story and Stephanie's going to do the sound
I
effects.
got it. Ready?
So I pull up, I get out of the car, and then I walk inside.
You're a very fast walker.
I run
cold.
inside. No, but it was every opportunity that I get. And the way that I do it is, I greet people with a smile and I say hello. And if oftentimes they'll respond back with a smile and it kind of catches people off
Yeah.
guard, right? Which I think is kind of both sad and funny. Like a lot of people aren't, accustomed to people smiling and like looking them in the eyes and saying, hello, how are you? How's your day? Right. So I greet people, and if they interact and they kind of, because sometimes people are in their own world,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that, like we obviously experience that as well, right? We'll move around and kind of be in our own world and don't really want to interact with people. But if it seems like somebody wants to interact, then I'll be like, hey, do you like podcasts? Do you ever listen to podcasts? And then if they're like, yeah, then I go, you should listen to the telepathy tapes.
That's cool.
And then I tell them about it. I give them like the teaser of the telepathy tapes
Yeah.
gives, right? Where it's that
I love that first of all, you're a podcast host and you're promoting other podcasts, which is great. But I like that you smile at somebody. This is what I got. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
Let's just play.
Am I such a creeper?
So you smile at somebody
I'm such a
and they look at
creeper.
you smile and you're like, hi. And they're like, how are you? And you're like, do you like podcasts? They're like, where it was. And then
Totally
you
a
just
creeper move.
It's not creeper. You just painted this picture that was so funny. It's cute as shit, but it's cute. Is that how it goes?
I mean, now that you're saying it, I think, yes, that's probably how it goes. That's not how it feels when I do it.
Baby, that's awesome.
It totally feels like a natural conversation with another human.
It probably
right?
is. It probably is.
But now you've got me in my head about it.
Don't let me get in your
Where
head.
I'm just like, hi,
Do you like
do you like podcasts? It's totally the girl at the end of Ferris Bueller. I've got a gummy bear.
It's been in my pocket.
all day. Do you want it?
I don't think that's how you are. That's just how you said it, and I went with the
Yeah.
story because your delivery was funny. Your delivery was funny. The picture that you painted for us that aren't telepathic was that, and so I had to. I'm sorry.
I just spit on you
Did you?
accidentally.
Was it intentional? Like, pooya.
It was accidental.
That'll teach you.
So
to
I've been
make
telling
fun of me.
everybody about this podcast.
Hey, do you like podcasts?
And I can't remember. I want to say I heard about it first on Rogan, but I don't 100% know that for
Yeah.
sure. I don't think so. I think I heard about it somewhere else, or I saw something about it.
I heard about it from you, so I'm no help there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the way that they are getting you to listen to it, like the tag, oh my gosh, this is a podcast that I might want to listen to, is they talk about non-speaking autistic kids and how they can read minds. And that's kind of like
And they
the
prove
entry
it.
point.
They prove it.
Well, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Like, and by the
Spoiler
way,
alert.
I mean, we're not spoiling anything. We're going to talk about it in detail because it's been such an impactful thing for me and has really shifted up, truthfully, my whole entire life. And I don't mean that in a. Sometimes I say things that are like, not even me. People will say that a lot, where they're like, "This is changing my life," or "This changed my life." Like, it legitimately did that for me.
Yeah.
It's been a really impactful thing. So I've been telling everybody about it. And the idea that autistic kids can read minds, that's just the tip of the iceberg with this podcast. It's just the thing to kind of hook you. And like you said, they prove it.
They prove it.
They go through, I always do this, and I always criticize myself in my head when I do it, when we're on podcasts, when
Be
we're
nice to
talking,
yourself.
where it's like, I can't remember people's names. I can't remember, the
So
titles.
right, you got a co-host. I'll look it up.
All of those kind of things. But it's, the work was based off of this woman. Her name's Diane or Diana,
I think it's Diane. Oh,
right?
hold on. I'm
The podcast
headed
is hosted
there.
by Kai Dickens, and she's a documentary filmmaker out of California. And she came across this woman's work, and this woman has been doing this work with autistic children for since the 80s or 90s. She's been doing it for a really long time, and has ran so many different tests, and they're all I mean, I'm not going to go through the process.
Diane Hennessy Powell.
Diane,
Dr. Diane
Doctor, yeah.
Hennessy Powell.
And this isn't about, I'm not going to try to convince you. That's the whole thing, is the podcast spends the first couple of episodes really laying the groundwork and the foundation for legitimizing the tests that they're doing. They're giving you all the examples. You can go to the website, telepathytapes.com, and see all of these things
Have
that
you
they've
done
done.
that yet?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't went to it yet. You've watched some of it?
Uh-huh. And it's
haven't done
really
that yet.
amazing. It's really, really amazing. That part of the podcast is basically laying the foundation for what comes next, which is the realization that their ability to read minds is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. And it turns out that they have a lot of other abilities, a lot of other skills, a lot of other connection available. And it's absolutely beautiful. And I'm a believer. I'm not somebody that has to be convinced, but the truth of it is because our experience together, you and me, back when we got together, was this massive spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
It's something that we haven't gone into great detail on this podcast. If you want to know more about it, you can go listen to the other podcast that we did for 8 years. It's called Energy is Love. It's on our YouTube channel. I think you can still find it on, Spotify and everything like that too. And that podcast was all about spirituality, all about energy healing, all about our beliefs and our connection to that space over the past, truthfully, our entire lives. But especially when you and I got together, we had this massive spiritual awakening that took place. I mean, we just did.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other way to kind of describe it. And it's been the thing that we've struggled. I know I've struggled communicating about it and trying to speak about it and talk about it, especially, you know, in the scope of like the big world where people are going to listen, simply because of all of the internal criticisms and judgments, as well as how we project that out onto society and everything like that. And we're really crazy and this stuff doesn't really exist and all of that kind of stuff. Fuck all that. Like, I'm in a place at this point in my life where I'm not concerned about any of that anymore. I'm not concerned about how people are going to perceive me. Now I'm all scared because you're looking around.
I'm sorry.
Where did your eyes go? What did I say? I'm hypervigilant because I'm saying vulnerable things.
I'll keep my eyes closed. I'll keep my eyes closed. Keep going on podcasts like this.
Did you get squirreled?
Yes.
Okay. I
But
won't draw
thank you.
attention to it.
Oh, you
Hold
won't?
on. Let's zoom in.
No.
Stephanie, tell us what you got squirreled on. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Heritage Still. When we got married, we combined all of our pans together
All of our really old, scratched up, crappy nonstick pans.
and we used those for years. Right up until the point where we learned that turns out those were probably killing us or giving us all cancer. So we ditched those pans and we went with titanium stainless steel pans from Heritage Still.
These pans can be used on any cooktop. They're oven safe and they're easy to clean.
Heritage Still is located right here in Tennessee. So you're getting American-made, fine, premium cookware for less. On top of that, you get a lifetime warranty.
And listeners of the podcast can save 10% over at Heritage Still.
Their website is heritagestill.us/Steph and Craig. Again, that's heritagestill.us/. Steph and Craig. Save 10% at Heritage Still. So the Telepathy Tapes is about just the very tip of the iceberg when it comes to non-speaking autistic kids, or not even just all non-speaking. Like, I can never quantify it. Like, some of them have the capacity to speak, but it's not fully right. Like, some level of communication. And they have just proven that they can read minds. They can read the minds of their parents, their caregivers, truthfully, anybody.
People around them.
They
They don't even like, and they speak how much farther? Like they're able to communicate with each other.
Yes.
But like full communication, and they don't have to like
There's
be
no verbal
anywhere in the
communication.
vicinity. Like the same. Like the thing is, they were saying is, do they have to be in the same room? And she says they don't even have to be in the same zip code.
Yes.
And so it's like they're able to, like these lines are open and not even just accessible. They're just like there. They're there. They have this open dialogue, this open connection it is existence in that space. And it's pretty, and it's incredible. It's incredible. It's I don't even know what to say. Like, there's no words to really describe how magical. And I don't know. It's just like, it's amazing.
It's really amazing, huh?
Yeah.
Because I listened to it all within the course of like 3 or 4 days while I was out driving around door dashing. And immediately I was like, baby, you got to listen to this.
You were.
Every day I come home and be like, did you listen?
Right.
Did you listen? Can we
Which
talk about it
only
yet?
made it harder for me to
I
listen.
know.
I was like, oh,
There's
quit
sometimes
putting
I
the,
will send you podcasts and I'm like, I really hope you listen to this, but I've learned that I just kind of have to let it go if I can't force you. And this one I was just like, baby, you have got to listen to this. We have got to be talking about
I need
this
to
podcast.
go back. I have a file that's like, it's called Craig's Recs.
Oh, really?
Because I always forget. And it's so funny because if you tell me, then I'm like, yeah, and then I forget. But if you hound me, then I feel like you're telling me what to do, and then I can't. I don't know how we do this. So I created a file called Craig's Recs so I can try to always go to them, because my brain is, they did the wires wrong. My brain's miswired. It's unhinged.
You don't even have a brain.
I don't. You better explain that
Yeah,
before
I don't
they're like,
mean that,
"What is wrong
right?
with you?"
I know,
that
could have been interpreted a very different way.
Like, so what do you mean by I don't even have a brain?
Well, that's a whole other rabbit hole.
Before you turn the internet against you and think that you just called me
Internet against
before everybody thinks you just called me a stupid, brainless
called
person.
my wife brainless. No, that's a whole other. Like, we
You're
might
talking
get
about
to
the
that.
concept of, well, I feel like we should get to that just because you say you don't even have a brain. It's the concept of perception.
It's not even perception.
Okay.
It's reality. It's virtual reality. It's
You have to perceive it. Your belief is
that
if it's not perceived,
it's
it
the whole
doesn't
thing
exist.
where like they've done those tests where, you know, they can show like the particle and the only way that the thing reacts is if it's being observed.
Yes. Which
And
is, yes,
that's
legit.
Yeah. And that's like, take that and then expand it out into reality. And like right now, the only thing that exists for me is what I can see in front of me that's being created in front of me right now.
And you
which
see
is
my
you.
face, you see my eyes, you
Yes,
see
I
my
see you.
hair.
Yeah, I see all of
you
those
don't
things.
see the brain.
But-
So that's why you said.
Exactly. I can't see your brain right
Yeah.
now because science tells us that it's inside your
Yeah.
skull. But the reality is, at least the way that I perceive reality is
Do you really perceive it that way? Or do
100%.
you want you 100?
100%. Yeah, baby, I told you, I'm all in.
I know, but I wonder, like, sometimes we all in with like it's sometimes it's like jumping off the high dive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there that hesitate? Is there that, I don't know, maybe it's not like that. Maybe that was a dumb reference. There's things that like I want to believe in and I want to be all in with and I want to feel. So I like, it's the fake it till you make it. They said, baby, gotta fake it till you make it. And I did. There's a Taylor Swift reference for all my
Apparently, you're not a
fans.
Swiftie, though.
I'm not a Swiftie.
And yet you
but
keep referring to
I
Taylor
love
Swift.
Taylor Swift. I don't have to be a Swiftie to be a big.
What's wrong with being
Taylor
a
Swift
Swiftie?
fan. Okay, squirrel. So going
I'm
back
getting
to
squirreled
that,
all over the
you
place.
are squirrely.
I was just realizing
Where's
how
your
we make
nuts?
this.
Where'd you hide your nuts? Do you know where your nuts are? You showed them earlier.
I got a.
So my point is do you really like? That's what I'm asking. Is it like, okay, you're on board, but you haven't fully converted yet into it, because, or do you really believe that without the right? So sometimes that's why I'm curious. Because sometimes it's hard. I teeter with things. I have things of like, I believe.
So let's get into this
is
a little bit because we're kind of putting the
and
cart before the horse here, babe.
I'm like
So the telepathy tapes
here too.
because it's not just our spiritual awakening that took place when we got married. Not even when we got married, but when we met, right? It's not even kind of like all of those pieces and all of those components.
You have it on me while I'm like itching stuff out of my eye.
People, the internet wants to
You
know
see,
what's
like,
in
right here?
Stephanie's eye.
Is it my finger?
It's also stuff that we have experienced since then over the course of our relationship continually. And it also speaks to things that we learned during yoga school and when we did all of our yoga training and everything like that. The whole concept and idea, and this is my interpretation of the telepathy tapes. Obviously, this is my interpretation of all of this information. And I really encourage people to listen to it with curiosity, listen to it with open ears. Let it be something that you see from the perspective of just curiosity, rather than looking for, ways to prove these things wrong or to deny these things. But the whole idea is that there's just more to this reality than what we can perceive. There's just more to this reality than what, we have been told, what we have all been taught, materialism, which is kind of the foundation for society and foundation for culture and foundation for this world. Turns out that that's kind of wrong completely, right?
Yeah.
That materialism is in fact not the case, that there's something greater and something bigger. And so the idea, and again, I'm just going to do my best to kind of speak to it through my language of how I see it and how I interpret it. And it's consciousness. It's this vast thing that exists that we all not just are connected to, but that we all are. We're all a tiny little individual piece of this bigger, greater thing. And the greater, bigger thing is just love. And we're all just a little component of that love connected to the greater, bigger thing. And because we are all connected to that greater, bigger thing, we have access to it. We have the ability to connect to it. It's what happens when we fall asleep and we dream. It's what happens when we meditate. It's, intuition, it's inspiration. It's all of these things that we experience in these physical bodies that we inhabit. And the way that I see it is this thing as an avatar, and consciousness activates and, literally activates and inhabits the avatar. And then the avatar moves around and experiences things and has to make choices and has to make decisions about how it's going to move through space and time. And in doing so, it sends information up to, back to, around in a circle. It doesn't really matter but it essentially is just building and evolving and expanding love. So love exists, and it's this all-knowing, all-seeing consciousness. And in order to continually evolve and expand and spread more love, it divides itself into all of these other little tiny consciousnesses and creates this reality / virtual reality. And I just refer to it as the Matrix because I have a lot of connection to the film, The Matrix, right? It was a big, impactful movie for me when it came out. In a lot of ways, it changed my life. But I don't mean that as much as I do with the Telepathy Tapes. I mean, The Matrix definitely played a big role.
Had a big impact on you.
Had a very big impact in me. And I can see that film now from so many different angles and so many different layers. But essentially that's what it is we're all living in the Matrix. And there's some people that have realized that and recognized that it's not reality. It's just the reality that is being constructed around us for us to exist in and to interact and move around in. And I believe the reason that we're existing and moving around inside of that space is simply to create more love. It's just a love factory. We're just building and evolving and growing love.
Every time something like this comes up, and it keeps coming up over and over and over and over again. And if you think about, like, on one hand, like, this sounds bananas, right? It sounds like completely bonkers. And then on the other hand, you have like the power of intention. You have manifestation. You have, even doctors that are
the placebo effect.
We're talking about the placebo effect, and they're talking about your attitude, the energy that you put towards things. They all have effect, which then proves that. So then it goes, you've got these spaces back and forth, but it always comes back to that. And the thing that it triggers in my brain every time is Monsters, Inc. And
like, I don't get the reference. I'm excited.
Do you remember seeing Monsters, Inc.?
Yeah.
And how, like, that was such a big show, right? And if you haven't seen it, you've got the scary monsters that come in, and they actually think that the kids are toxic, but they scare them, and the kids scream. They bring the fear, and then they get the energy, and it feels. So that's how they fuel the monster world. They're not really scary. It's a job, the scarers, that's what they call them, to create fear in these kids. And then throughout the movie, like, one of them, this cute little thing that was just Stevie when she was little,
Boo.
She gets out and
she goes into that other reality.
Well, yeah, she gets into that. So they're trying to hide her, and they discover along the way that a child's laughter, that when they laugh, that it like, whoom, it's this massive energy surge.
What's so much more powerful than fear.
So then it's like the scarers are retired. Now it's the comedians are coming out. We're not scaring kids. We're making them laugh, happy. And then that is what really is powerful. And then so it's like that fear and love thing. And so it always, that show always like triggers in my brain.
That's
I'm
so
like,
beautiful.
Monsters, Inc. had it figured out.
That's so beautiful. Well, that's the thing is, like, I've been able to look at it from all of these different angles and everything like that. And like the Telepathy Tapes was the thing that cracked everything back open for me. And I say back open for me because it's the truth of it is it's the journey that I've been on my whole life. And it's seeing things and experiencing things and, having different experiences, and not just in the course of our relationship, but all of these really unexplainable things. And having framework to now understand it in a way that I've always had in some context, right? Like I said, I've always believed in something else greater than. I mean, when we started the other podcast, Energy is Love,
right?
The whole
energy is love.
Exactly. The whole impetus for that podcast was this belief. But it was like, it took me a really long time to get to the spot where I believe it. With every fiber of my being.
See, that's exactly my question. Was like, when I was asking, is that like how it took you a while to get to where you believed it with every fiber in your being? So that's what I was like, how much of that is there at this point? Is that every fiber of your being there?
It's all of it. I don't question it or doubt it anymore. And I can explain why.
I would love that.
And it really boils down to that love and fear thing.
Do you feel comfortable explaining it on the podcast?
To the best of my abilities. Right? It's one of those things that because I also let go of time. So I'm not thinking about time anymore,
Yeah.
which means there's not a linear way for me to describe this, which means it kind of comes out like scattershot all over the place in circles, because that's just kind of the way that things work. And
Can we talk about time for a second?
Of course. We've got time for that.
We've got time for that, right? That
was funny.
That was very funny. It's in the book, not the gap in hold on. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Okay.
And if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend that book. I love that book.
It's on Steph's top 10.
It is. That's like, I've listened to that one 3 times. I've read it. I've listened to it. I just like, that's one of my go-to books. And it's amazing. I love it.
I've decided we need a couch. So instead of these chairs, we need to replace these with a couch.
With a couch? Okay.
And then we can totally sit here on our couch and do this show.
Okay.
So we're going to come up with a couch.
Okay.
But anyways.
Okay. That's a good idea. So he talks about Einstein time.
Yes, you told me about that.
And that is what, I sent that to you. And that's just a little nugget there where you're talking and you think, well, that's really convenient. You don't have to worry about time. You don't have little kids. You don't have all these things. But before we get into all that, explain if you're curious about that, look up Einstein time, and you can look it up either by Einstein, Einstein time, or if you can find talks about Gay Hendricks talking about it.
If you Google it, because I Googled it after you told me, and I was able to find some stuff
there you go,
where he was talking about it on surprisingly a podcast.
Right. So there you go. Go listen to that.
Yeah. So I let go of time. And along this path, I listen to the telepathy tapes, and it just reawakens everything inside of me. And what happened last year for me, in the year of our Lord 2024.
Okay, what happened last year? 2024 was a shit show. Like,
I just
what happened?
had to confront all of my fears.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Okay,
it's true.
I believe you.
All of them.
Yeah, 2024 sucks.
And it felt like I was breaking. Mm-hmm. It felt like a complete nervous breakdown. Doesn't even give it justice. It just felt like I was slipping away into darkness and into places in my psyche that I wasn't going to come back from. And I was getting really, really scared and really, really broken. And all of it was stuff that I was just kind of dealing with internally and hiding and trying to figure out how to get through, because the year wasn't hard for just me, right? It was hard for both of us. It was a heavy, heavy year for us. And I was getting to the point within my own head and within my own space that I didn't know what was going to happen. And at the same time, I was like, our life was changing and has been changing in so many beautiful ways that I didn't want to lose anything. I wanted my life to continue. And I wanted my life to be this big thing that and big isn't even relative. It's not size-wise. It's just beautiful. We have such a beautiful life. And it's something that I really cherish. And I didn't want to lose it. But things were dark and things were hard. And I mean, you know this because you've been right here with me. Like, a big part of not even last year, but since we've been in Tennessee, was me using a lot of marijuana in order to try to get through and to kind of survive. And it was like I was using marijuana every day, and it felt like it was the only thing that gave me relief. It was the only thing that kind of kept things at bay in a sense, where I could detach enough from my body where I wasn't in pain. And through that detachment from my body, I was experiencing all sorts of like beautiful things through creativity and connection. And then at the same time, I was, struggling when I'd like come back into my body with all the shame and the guilt and all the other things in association with it. And so it just was really some of the darkest periods of my life. And as the year was coming to an end and we were experiencing, because we've had a lot of really great success with the podcast and our life and some of the decisions that we've made up until this point, right? Coming to here to Tennessee and moving and doing all of these kind of different things and transitioning and shifting things up to this big studio in our house and all these other kind of things. It's been exciting. It's been a lot, but it's also, I mean, like behind the scenes, this is stuff that we don't talk a ton about on the podcast because it's, I mean, I have shame about it, right? It's the part of me that doesn't want to put things out there that are hard to talk about, but it's like financially, it's just been a nightmare.
Yeah.
I got quote unquote fired from another job this year or last year. And I see it that way on one hand, but then on the other hand, it's like a job that I had already kind of checked out of.
I know. I'm like, why do you keep telling yourself that story?
But that's the thing is I'm not.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm not telling myself that story anymore, but that was a part of what I was telling myself right last year. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Element 6. E6 is a local company right here in Tennessee, and they happen to manufacture some of the best pickleball paddles you're going to find. If you're just getting into pickleball or if you're a professional, E6 has you covered. All of their paddles are engineered with advanced technology and some of the latest materials in the pickleball game. They offer free shipping and returns, and right now, listeners of the podcast can save 10% on anything at their website. Head to the link in our description and be sure to enter in the promo code Steph and Craig. Get out there, get on the courts, and come play some pickleball with us. Element 6, premium pickleball paddles for your pickleball journey. Because that took away all of our financial stability.
Yeah.
And then we were left with the little bit of money that we were making through the podcast, which wasn't a lot. And that meant that we had to figure things out. And it was kind of the same thing when I got fired back in 2015, where it was like I didn't want to go back to a way of life that I had been living, right? When I got fired from being a cop, I didn't want to go back to being a cop. I didn't want to go back into like societal structures and norms of how things are supposed to be, right?
You didn't call up superior. Well, you didn't call up another.
Another what? Oh,
I was
another,
like, yeah, you didn't call up another.
right, another float tank manufacturer.
And be like,
yeah, I guess that's some context too, right? Because it's something that I never really talked about on the podcast because it just, you know, the side gig, I always thought about it as like just this side hustle at some point because I did it so long, but I worked for a float tank manufacturer called Dream Pod and installed their pods all over the country and traveled everywhere and did all their customer support and everything like that for the U.S. for a really long time. And I liked it. There were parts about it like anything else, you know, good and bad things. But that's the income that went away.
Yeah.
And it was something that we were planning on doing anyways.
Yeah.
It was actually something that we were planning on setting down in April of last year. And then April came up and it was like, too scared to set that down. Because,
and the universe was like, hey, buddy, we had a deal.
Yeah.
So I got you.
Well,
and then you're like, I
like,
got fired. I'm like, no, you freaking dude, look at what happened.
I understand.
You brought the universe and the universe had your back.
Well, that's the whole thing is like, I believe that.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that was driving everything, you know, even in all of this darkness that I'm talking about and how hard things were, I had this thing underneath the surface of all of it that it was like, I'm innocent, I'm pure, I'm loved unconditionally. I mean, I have been scripting in my journal for like 2+ years every single day, all of these little mantras, all of these little affirmations every fucking morning, over and over and over and over again. And I think it just rewired everything. It just changed how I saw myself. It changed how I believed in things. And we had had so many leaps over the last couple of years, like just all out leaps of faith that I believed.
Yeah.
I believed that the universe was carrying me through all of these experiences and this was going to be no different. And then I listened to the Telepathy Tapes and it's all about these amazing kids and all of these things that they can do. And then it starts to expand and grow and it's like remote viewing and the ability to speak to, you know, communicate and connect with people that have passed away. And it's all of these things that in some capacity we have experienced at some point that we've touched upon over the course of our relationship in life with energy healing and spirituality and meditation. And, you know, it's stuff that we learned about in yoga. It's stuff that we've like legitimately had experiences with. And then at the end of the Telepathy Tapes, the final episode of that season, it's this beautiful episode where they're talking to all of these autistic children, and it's not just kids, obviously, right? I mean, there's people that are obviously adults that are non-speaking autistics as well. And it's like, hey, this information is out there. Like, what do you want humanity to know now with all of this stuff? And one of the girls in that mentioned how everybody was born this way, where telepathic communication is how we are all not just supposed to communicate, but that's how we communicate. Like, that's all, we're all that way. And then we just get it programmed out of us. You know, we're all born that way, and we're all born with that capacity and that ability and that connection, because again, we're all connected to the same consciousness, to the same universal source. And then what happens with, you know, kids who aren't autistic and who learn the ability to speak and who are literally taught how to speak, because that then just quiets that side of their consciousness and their ability. And instead, now we learn how to talk and we learn how to move through life that way and communicate that way. And that made so much sense to me, because so much of our healing has been recognizing how we were programmed as children with stories and traumas and experiences and all of these kind of different things that we were given that really quieted who we really were, right? The inner child part of us that really wanted to be seen and loved and validated. So it was like this beautiful totality for me of seeing all of this stuff from all of these different angles. And like when things really started to connect for me, it was like synchronicities were happening so fast. It was like I was seeing things so quickly. I was seeing things from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 days ago. All of this stuff just lining up so quickly, showing me very clearly that it was just like confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. And then I just had like a handful of days where I was in this like incredibly high vibrational kind of like energy. I was, when I say I was moving fast, it was not like the crazy, you know, ADHD phonetic where I'm like, oh, I can't, you know, slow down. I was just so full of energy, where it was like everything, I just felt so much creativity flowing through me, so much connection flowing through me, so much hope, so much joy. And I was having all of these moments like connection with you, connection with other people and friends, and all of this stuff was happening. And then I had a moment, and some of it's real personal stuff that I'm not going to share, but it felt like just this massive out-of-body experience where I tapped in and connected to this thing that I'm referring to, this consciousness, this space. And it was so it was the most powerful thing that I've ever experienced before. And there was such a sense of peacefulness and love and calm. And it was like instantaneously confirmation for me that it was all true. And everything became so simple for me after that, where I just saw everything through the lens from that point forward, that the matrix is structured and set up a way with the binary, right? It's the 1 and the 0. It's the light and the dark. It's the man and it's the woman. It's all of these examples of binary that we have in this experience. But when you boil everything down, the real binary that is existing here, and it's just the illusion, because the truth of it is it's all love. But the illusion is just, there's two choices, either love or fear. And I just decided that I was not ever going to go towards fear anymore. I was only going towards love. And if I encountered fear, then I was going to sit with it until I could turn it into love. And that's how I've been moving through life ever since then, where I see everything through that lens. I do my best to love myself. I do my best to take care of myself, because all I'm after now is I want to help other people figure that out for themselves. I want to help other people on their path to get to that spot where they're able to feel unconditionally loved, know that they're unconditionally loved, connect to that love, so that they can face those fears. And it required, the process for me involved having to really confront all of my darkest fears. And in doing so, all of them went away and became love. And it was so clear to me. So now that's what it's about for me, is I'm just here to spread love, try to show up as best as I can, on any given day. And then like on my own personal journey and my own personal work and navigating what that process looks like, I only look at it from love and fear. So if I get stuck somewhere, I'm in fear. And then I have to sit with it until I can either feel love or recognize. It's like it's the work that you and I have been doing for a really long time, is like recognizing past traumas, past experiences, past blocks, triggers that activate our nervous systems, all of these things to me that we've had different words for over the course of our relationship. Now I just see it as fear. So if fear comes up in my body, and I just hold on to that space and sit with it until it turns into love. And as soon as that happens, that fear disappears and I'm back into love again. And it's work. It's not easy. And I've recognized that like the massive energy that I was experiencing, at the beginning of the year and when all of this stuff was really popping off, like there's this avatar as well. There's this body that I'm in that I have to do things with and maintain. And, I have to sleep and I have to eat and I have to kind of do these things, at least at this point. All right. I don't believe that that's actually the case. I believe there's a point of connection where those things also disappear and no longer become needed for the avatar. But so that's where I'm at with all of it. And the catalyst for this was that podcast, the Telepathy Tapes. So that's why it's been something that I've been trying to share with everybody. But at the same time, I recognize that, I had that conversation with you the other night where I was like, it just dawned on me, like, not everybody's going to listen to that and believe it. Like some people are going to listen to that and think it's a stupid podcast about something, they're going to blow it off immediately and not even bother to listen to the 10 episodes and get into it. And I know that. I know that's the case, obviously, right? Everybody gets the opportunity to choose whatever they want to choose. That's the real beautiful part about this Matrix experience, is we actually get the choice. But I think that choice is just very simple. I think it's, are you going to choose fear or are you going to choose love? And I think there's a lot. What
if it's a different point of view than you?
That's totally fine. Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Does that mean they're choosing fear if they think differently?
No, like that's the cool part is I'm not interested in, when I say I'm not interested in how other people perceive or see, I'm very interested in that, but I'm not interested in forcing mine on anybody else. Nobody else has to see things the way that I see them. You don't have to see things the way that I see them. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And I have to do a better job at learning how to because at the end of the day, babe, I love you and I want you to get to the same spot that I've gotten to.
But what does that mean, that you don't think that the spot that I'm at is like good enough?
That's not at all the case. No, I very much know that
because you're like, I love you, I just want you to get to where I'm at. I'm like,
But it's not get to where I'm at. It's I want you to have the same sensation and feeling and knowingness in your body that I have.
Is it okay if I don't?
100% it's okay.
Does it make me less?
No. I know it feels that sometimes.
Well, I'm just like, what makes you think that what I'm feeling is anything less than what you're feeling?
I don't look at it as more or less. I don't look at like somehow I've achieved something that is greater than you and you have to reach that spot. That's not at all how I think about it or feel, or if it comes off that way. And I think it probably does sometimes.
Well, I'm just asking, like, of course you want your partner to be healthy and happy, and like what you're like, from what you're expressing, you're really happy with the way this feels. This makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And so of course you want me to feel that way. I totally get that. But I'm just like looking at the like other aspects of it. It can also be looked at as what you're feeling isn't happy unless you feel this. And so because this is one way for you that somebody else isn't communicating the same way that what they might be feeling is less. And I'm just like, that's what I'm talking about on that.
I think I understand what you're trying to say. And all I can say is that I don't want you to be in pain anymore. And it's not because, I mean, it used to be, sorry, I'm getting caught up in my words, babe. I got to get a drink.
That's okay. You can get a drink. There's time for drinks.
Help me understand a little bit more of what you're trying to communicate.
Well, I have a big resistance because if you're looking at like a personal trainer and they're like helping you like lift heavier and get to the part, they're like, I want to help you, and that's like where you're going. That's like an aspect of they're helping you get to this place but it also implies that you're not at a good place where you are. And so there's the part of me that's like hearing all of this with love and like admiration and seeing. And then there's another part of me that's hearing this that's like, I don't like quit waiting for me to be better. Like, I'm good. Of course, I'm going to still keep striving for more for myself. But when you say to me, you want me to get where you are, that immediately is like, I would adjust your sights, buddy.
Let me reverbalize it then, because
Okay.
it's not getting to where I'm at.
Okay.
Like, I'm not interested in having you get to where I'm at or having anybody else get to where I'm at.
Thank you.
What I'm interested in is, like, when it comes to you and me, I'm just interested in being here, walking with you and supporting you wherever you're at and loving you wherever you're at and being with you wherever you're at, regardless. Like, I have, to the best of my ability at any given point, as much unconditional love for you as I possibly can muster. And that's not because you're like unlovable or anything that you're doing. It's just like the
Really
capacity.
a big sacrifice here.
Yeah, that's not at all the case. It's just the capacity with which to kind of hold that amount of love within my body, right? Like, I'm tired, I'm worn out, all those kind of different things that the avatar kind of has to go through and experience. And so all I'm trying to do is just hold that as much as I possibly can. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's my work. As far as what your path is and as far as where you're going and as far as how are you feeling and all of that stuff, I'm totally just here loving you regardless. And there's the part of me that obviously not just for you, but like all people that I love, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's the same thing with our kids, right? You want them to feel not just joy and happiness, but like the peace that I feel now, being able to like rest without fear in my body. That's the thing that I hope for you.
Yeah.
It's not a destination. It's not a place in time. It's not some level of spiritual awakening or, enlightenment or anything like that. It's just, I hope that you get to experience that.
That peace.
Yeah. The peace that comes with not having fear anymore.
I gotta tell you, I hope I do too. I just,
Yeah.
like, but we'll see. Also, like, I'm working really hard on just being where I am and not letting anybody, especially myself, like shame and make me wrong for that. And it's not I'm here and I don't need to grow. Like, I'm actively working on myself, and I'm going to continue to actively work on myself because that's important to me. I'm addicted to growth. I am addicted to, in the best it's possible way. Like, I'm committed to, that's a better word. Commitment's hard for me, but I'm committed to myself in that. Like, I want a healthier life. And I look forward to balance and healthy aspects of my life in all areas, because I struggle there. I very much can get focused on one area and then other ones suffer. And then I get focused on one area and other one. Now, each time I gain more, I go in this circle of, maybe that is the balance of it, is I don't have the ability at this point to hit each garden at once and nurture them all. I very much one that gets hyper focused on. And I do look forward to having, you know, more in that space, a healthier, like I would like to be able to not have to resurrect one that I completely ignored. And now it's just, you know, a desolate area. So I'm committed to myself in that. I'm always going to keep trying. I don't know how to not try anymore, even though there's days that I can't. I don't have anything left. And that might last a couple of days. But even in those moments, I do something.
Can I express to you what that feels like to me? Like hearing you say all of those things.
Okay.
I feel like what you're communicating right now and expressing like this, you're like, I'm addicted to it. I'm always going to continually, I'm committed to the process of trying to heal.
Okay.
I feel like that is like the epitome of self-love.
Yeah.
I feel like it's this beautiful expression of like, I'm never giving up on myself and I'm always going to show up for myself. And it's just this massive act of self-love. And I don't know, like, do you see it that way?
A lot, but not all the time, you know, a lot, but not all the time. Times are, sometimes it's like scraping with everything I have for that. But I can stand back and look at it from a higher like self point of instead of in the muck self point and see it is absolutely self-love because I am willing to do that above all else. And it's costing me a lot to love myself.
That's so beautiful though.
So thank you. So I see that and I'm like, that's where I am and that's my stance. And there's also a part of me that, healthy or not, it's where I'm at this point. If I hear, I'm just waiting for you to get good enough. And then I'm like, well, buddy, you're going to have to watch the show from over there because I'm not trying to do that for anybody else, including you. And so I had a little bit of resistance right there with that. And so that's what it comes like if it's implied that I don't know. It's funny. I wonder what that's about because I'm looking at it. If you were to come to me and say what you said really hurt me, this action that you did is not okay. That hurt me. You made me feel like this. I would want to hear that.
Yeah.
And I would want to either change that behavior or we have to come up with a new plan if that's something that I'm not able to step into. Like, I feel like I can be accountable for that. But to turn around and say, I want you to get where I am, it's like, I don't know, it's probably more about me than it is about you. It's probably my own defenses that came up and spoke with that. Because if I can be accountable, if I know I hurt you, then I'm going to have to look at that a little bit more. I might have just let my shadow speak out. And now I'm like, I see you. I have to investigate that a little bit. I'm starting to see where also, like, I also stand like in my boundary and like, I don't like, if you're waiting for me to be good enough for you, then like take a step back. So I'm good enough for me and I'm going this way.
Yeah.
And also where do I feel like I fell there? So then I projected that. I don't know. I've got a lot to look at. I'll probably have to go and replay this last part so I can see it from a outside view instead of an inside view.
Yeah.
Because I just unwrapped a little something.
Projection has been a thing that I have been really looking at through this lens of love and fear. And it's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where it's like we're all born, you know, in this magical space of being connected to consciousness and being of it and being these little, you know, love drops inhabiting avatars.
Love drops.
And then it's like all of this stuff, you know, I mean, it's the simplest thing of being able to thought share with each other and connect telepathically. And having people growing up tell us that wasn't the case. Or if you think about some of the stories that you and I share from our childhood, having experiences that scared other people and then having those fears that they had then projected onto us and becoming our fears.
Yeah.
And so it's like I see projection very, very different now because it's just the projection of fear. So there's something inside of me that is difficult to sit with, process, feel, connect to, understand. And I just simplify it down to fear. There's fear inside of me that I'm afraid of. And so I project that outwards onto the people and to the world around me because I can't sit with it inside of myself. And if I'm able to sit with it inside of myself, then over time I've learned how to just create, and not even create like in an imaginary way, but that fear just suddenly morphs into unconditional love for myself.
Well, Ram Dass, what is the secret to that fear suddenly morphing into unconditional love for yourself?
I had to face all of them.
Yeah.
I had to face my darkest fears. I had to be able to sit in the space of the things that I don't want to sit in.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Everybody's got a list. Everybody's list is different. Everybody's got a list of their deepest, darkest fears that, you know, for some people it's death, right? Death is a really big one that people, it's the big
That's a
unknown.
big one for a lot of them.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably on most people's lists in some capacity, right? Death is one of those things that is this big unknown.
Yeah. If it's not your own, then you're usually, at least you have it for the people that you love.
Projecting it out onto the people that we love, right?
Yeah.
Can't face death of ourselves. Can't sit with that internally. The idea that we're going to end, that suddenly the lights are going to go out and we're not going to be, and you know, all of those things that surround death, and unable to sit in the discomfort of that. So then projecting that fear outwards onto the people that we love around us in some way, thinking that that's going to make it easier to deal with because now it's not inside of me. I'm going to place it over there on the people that I love. I don't know about you, but that didn't make it any easier for me. Right? If I feared my death, there's the only death that I feared more than mine were the death of the people that I loved. Right? It's like, I'm okay if I die, but by God, I can't let the people that I love die. And it's like sitting in some of those really dark spots is what led me to this space, because through that process, I mean, it's literally the shadow work. It's literally the ability to sit in the darkness and just be okay there. And what happened was it felt like love scooped me up and raised me up into the truth of what it all was, where, of course, we don't die. Of course, this isn't the end of anything. This is just the experience that was created in order to continually perpetuate and spin and evolve into more love. Because if there's one thing on this planet that we want more of, right? It's like more love. It's more peace. It's more harmony. It's more connection. It's the juice. It's the everything that this world is about, even though there's a lens to look at where everything in this world is fear. Everything is chaos. Everything is doom and gloom, and we're all fucked, especially like fear is ramping up or seemingly ramping up.
Oh, fear is definitely ramping up right now.
Seemingly, I think.
You say seemingly, and I'm like,
Right? I see it from the perspective of love is actually ramping up.
I definitely
Because what's going to happen, I think, is all the fear that seems to be being created right now, if you're getting like really uncomfortable.
I am a little antsy right now. I'm a little uncomfortable.
Okay.
That's okay.
The
way that you see it, that everything's getting ramped up.
all the fear that's ramping up right now in the world is only going to push people into love.
Yeah.
Because I think that's all fear is.
Yeah.
It's love.
It's the catalyst
It's
for
love
love.
wearing a mask.
Yeah. Love wearing a mask.
Fear is just the illusion that keeps us from love.
Yeah.
It's the falseness that's in front of love.
Fear is used as a way to love as well.
So I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Scare you into protecting yourself because I love you and want you to be safe.
Right?
So
yeah,
fear
you could
is
say
used
that. You could say the catalyst, like the thing underneath fear that's oftentimes driving fear is love. Right? I'm trying to keep the ones that I love safe.
Yeah.
So I'm protecting them from the big scary things that are out there.
And teaching them to be afraid so that they don't.
Right?
Yeah.
And so again, it's like all comes back to love. It's all this process of like
I don't know. It's
everything that we put in front of us to keep us from this unconditional love that not only are we worthy of, meaning like we're able, like we deserve it. It's the thing that we are all stemming from and connected to, but it's literally just it. Like the big gotcha at the end of the movie was, oh, it's all love.
It's all love.
It's just
But you
love.
have to get clear on what your definition of love is.
What's your definition
Like,
of love?
do you know what I mean?
I don't actually. I think that
like-
unconditional love, like
No.
feeling it.
Like, we know what love means, like conceptually, right? Contextually in our brains. We understand what love is. But love is something, it can mean something different to different people. So when you're like, oh, it's just love, just lean into love. Love might not have been something that was ever safe for somebody. Like, love meant pain. Love meant not having, you know, choice over yourself, over your actions, over your body, over your life. There's so many things were done in the name of love, and love doesn't feel safe, so they don't trust love. And if they don't trust love, how do you lean into love? So for me, it's like looking at getting clear of what the definition of love is for you. Not the definition, but the meaning. What does love mean to you? What does it feel like in your body? What does it come up with? What do you feel towards love? What does love feel like for you? What does it feel like to be loved? And what habits are you creating with that? Because if you have a toxic relationship with love, like I sure as hell did, then to try and lean into love means you're leaning into trusting something that has hurt you. And it's not love that has hurt you, but what now your meaning is with love. So getting really curious about what love means to you, breaking that down, healing those wounds is how you can help lean into that space. Because sometimes, like, it gets flopped. Love means pain, fear means love.
See, I agree with you that it gets flopped and it gets confused, but I think it's just the confusion that fear creates.
Yeah.
Where
I think it's what lived experiences create.
I agree.
Yeah.
But like, that's the other big thing for me too, that I'm always looking for ways to simplify things.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for ways to make the really big unexplainable things small so that I can understand them. And that's why seeing things through fear and love is really, really simple for me. So what you just got done describing with, I totally agree with. I feel like we have a skewed definition of what love is, a skewed definition of what connection is. And it's based off of programming, and it's based off of all of these experiences that we've had, the things that we've witnessed, the way that we saw love, you know, being
The way we were
played
taught
out.
to love.
Exactly. All of that stuff. But when I run that through the filter of fear and love, that's not love. That's all fear to me. What I mean, hold on, everybody. So if we take unconditional love as the purity for, you know, like that's the part that I think needs to be defined, is what unconditional love is.
There's
And-
also a skew there, like a misinterpretation of what unconditional love is too.
What do you mean?
I mean, a lot of people interpret unconditional love as meaning if I love you unconditionally, that means that whatever you do, I accept and allow to me. Not whatever you do in your life and how that affects you, but whatever you do to me, like you can hurt me as much as you want, but I have to unconditionally love you. And if I won't tolerate that, if I don't put up with that, if I leave that, then I don't really unconditionally love you. And so that has been weaponized too. So again, that's why I talk about it's important for the meaning to be clear.
Yes.
So that within yourself,
Yes.
otherwise when you're leaning towards it, you're just recreating these things that have hurt in the past, thinking that you're leaning towards love,
Yes.
but you're not.
So how would you define it?
How would I define it? I'm getting curious about that. I'm still getting there. I'm learning that love means I don't know if I really want to talk about it on the podcast right now. We've got into a lot that love has not been what I thought love was. What I thought love was is not actually love. I mean, I've definitely have love and I've definitely felt love but the way that I was taught how to give love and how to receive love was not real. And I didn't understand that for a very long time and couldn't understand why, like, miserable and hurt and pain and recreating these really unhealthy toxic patterns, because it's what love was. And I didn't know any different. And so really unpacking and learning like the freedom of love, like love is like this freedom, this lightness, this like really getting close to the meaning of it. And it's not control. It's not painful. And does pain come with love? Of course it does. Because if you love something, at some point you're going to lose what you love. And that's not a, I'm not trying to be morbid, like you better hold on to that. And it's just the freedom to allow that. Like people are going to die. You are going to die. It changes. Something changes. Like you hold a rose. It's beautiful. It's going to, you're not going to be able to sit there and stare at that rose and that rose never changed. Like it is a changing thing, but we get caught up in the love. Like in order to really love, we have to hold on to it and it can't change. And so unpacking all of those things and allowing change to happen, allowing transitions to happen and having it not affect love or the way that I receive love, the way that I am willing to give love based off of whether or not it's going to change and how it's going to look. It's bigger than I could ever have imagined. And I don't know how to make it small. I'm like, if it's small, it's like it's missing too much. I can't, like, it can't be this or that at this point, because then it leaves all of this unsaid, all of this unfelt, all of this is unexperienced. So I'm still unpacking how to feel safe love and how to give safe love and what safe love is. And that is starting with me, because I haven't, like, my best intentions have not been the best that was received. Like I loved so hard with the love that I had. And there was a lot of good, but then there was a lot of really not good. And the kind of love that I needed, that I was willing to receive, what I thought love was so hurtful. And I didn't know how to receive healthy love. So getting really, I'm not alone in this. I'm not over here thinking like, it's so many people. Chances are whoever's listening to this is going to either be able to relate at either when they're listening to it or some point. There's so much convolution that comes around it. So in order to be able to get into that space, it's really, really important to not, like, I don't want to define love with my words. I want to talk about what love feels like, what it means, because then I'm going to understand my connection. And then how do I move? And then that's going to tell me a lot of whether I'm moving towards actual love or fear, or whether I'm moving towards actual love or something else, you name it. So that's kind of why I think it's, does
really
that make
beautiful,
sense?
babe. I mean, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. And I think we're talking about the same thing.
We are.
It's just through the different perspective, right? Everything you just got done describing, I would totally, wholeheartedly agree with. I think it's very important for everybody to do exactly what you just got done talking about, really getting curious and exploring their definitions around love, their stories around love, their experiences around love, good, bad, ugly, everything in between, to really get and just continually hone down and get to the spot where it's like, what does it actually feel like in my body? What are the physical sensations? What are the emotional experiences? What's the somatic process that takes place when I'm in the space of love? And I think that's massively important, because it will be a thing that I think can be used to help guide you.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, is what, in some ways, this whole process has been like for me, was learning how to trust my intuition, learning how to trust my connection with this consciousness source, this thing that is so hard to try to verbalize and articulate. And I mean, it's the thing that's been written about, talked about, preached about, over and over and over and over and over. And it's the same story over and over and over and over and over again. It's always leading back to this like unknown thing that we can't quite quantify and can't quite put words around, but we know it, we can feel it. It's love. And getting to the core of what that is for every single person, like for you, for me, getting to that spot is the thing that I think will take everybody, you included, me included, everybody, it will take them through the process of really getting to love, which means peeling away everything else that was in the way. shedding back every layer that was keeping them from that thing.
Facing everything, like you said.
Every fear.
Every fear.
And that at the end of the day, I think that's what it is. I think it's that whole thing of like the only way out is through. You've got to go through all of those fears in order to get to that spot. And some people do it and some people don't. And that's okay. Yeah. Like that's the whole thing is there's no time, right? We're never out of time. So it's okay. You'll eventually get there because you're already there. Right. It's the whole thing Ram always talks about, right? It's like, hurry up and get there. I mean, you're already there. There's nowhere to get. You already got. We're here. We made it.
Here now.
Yeah, we're here. We made it. This is it. We won.
Here, we made it.
Well, you made it to the end of the episode.
Yes, you did.
Thank you so much for hanging in there. Go listen to the Telepathy Tapes. We'll share it down in the show notes so that you've at least got the link. And we can't speak highly enough about it. I know that this whole episode was kind of about it in some regards. And go have your own experience of it. Go see it through your lens and just get really curious about what it's going to bring up and spark inside of you. And if you've watched it and you've listened to it and you resonate with this, or if you disagree with this, we also want to hear from you. It's one of those things where, please, the encouragement, I feel like I got a burp coming in me, right? I got to practice burping.
Right.
Some
you
of
do.
my inner
Are
child
you ready to do
healing
it?
Just big old burp right on the podcast, right? But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting couple of years that we have, not just for us individually on this show and in our life, but I think the world's going through something. And I have to laugh because a lot of people are like, man, it's, it's like the age of Aquarius. It's the age of, like, all these changes are happening. I think it's always that way. I think those things are always taking place. And in some regards, it's just easier for us to see now because we have the ability to with all this internet and phones and everything else. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive. Don't you think?
Okay.
Here, I got to go to the bathroom.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm about to pee my pants. We have to wrap this up now.
Podcast over, everybody. Expect the best.
Plan for the greatest.
We'll see you guys next time.
Got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me. We were meant to be.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. You've made it all the way to the end, and we are so grateful for you. If you have a moment, you could take time to like, subscribe, and share this episode. It really helps us. And also, if you liked this episode, which you're still here, so you probably did, you might like these clips too. And again, thanks for supporting the Steph and Craig Show. There's new episodes every week. See you next time.